Hi everyone! Today I'm doing another YouTube artist collective painting and the theme is World in a Bottle. I'll talk through my painting process first and then more about this theme and the collective. I started sketching my idea on normal copy paper since I didn't have my sketchbook with me. And then I made the more refined sketch on grid paper. I used a template for the glass bottle. I drew half of the bottle and folded the paper and cut out the bottle to make it symmetrical. And then I traced that onto the grid paper and added the rest of the sketch. I had several reference photos for the different bird poses, glass jars, mangrove trees and epiphytes. I transferred the sketch onto watercolor paper. By the way, all the supplies I used will be listed and linked below. I taped the sketch on top of the watercolor paper so it wouldn't move and placed the transfer paper between them with the darker side facing the watercolor paper and drew over the sketch lines with a ballpoint pen. I painted this with Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolors, starting with light colors and building up to darker ones. I wasn't filming this at home and had a bit of trouble setting up the camera and fitting the tripod on the table, so sorry if the filming angle looks weird. I actually used only natural light from the window for this video, but I think it looks okay. I can't do that at home because my desk is not facing the window there. While painting this, I was appropriately listening to a children's audiobook about a raven and its animal friends. There's a series of books about them by a Finnish writer, Jukka Parkkinen. Besides the reference photos, I also tried looking at an actual glass jar for reference, even though it wasn't the same shape as the one I drew. I just wanted to get an idea of what the distortion of the tree could look like through the glass. Just painting an empty glass bottle in general would be a good practice idea. To my surprise, my mom had bought me Marabu Creabox watercolor pens from Lidl. They're water-based markers that you can paint over with a wet brush and get a watercolor effect, kind of like watercolor pencils or water-soluble chalk pastels, which I've used before. I've never tried watercolor pens before though, so I wanted to try them a bit in this painting. I tried the red one first on normal paper and it didn't really react much with water. So I ended up using these pens mostly just as markers over the watercolor to add stronger colors and details for this painting. Because I didn't want to ruin the painting in case the markers didn't work the way I expected them to work. But I'll make another video about testing all of them on watercolor paper, so stay tuned for that. I do think some of the colors work better than others. The black, for example, seems to spread quite well. I added some white highlights towards the end with the white from IKEA smaller paints, because I didn't have my own acrylics with me. It wasn't very opaque and it seemed to react with the blue, black and red watercolor pens in the wings of the birds, turning them light blue, grey and pink. It's not the effect I was going for, but I don't mind it. I was going to leave most of the glass bottle white, but looking at some reference images, I thought it would be better to leave only the lightest highlights white and paint the rest of the bottle light blue. Before I finish the painting, let's talk about YouTube Artist Collective. If you don't know what it is, it's a community of YouTube artists who all make art based on the same theme every 2 or 3 months, and fans get to vote on the theme on their Facebook page. You can also take part in the theme unofficially, like I'm doing here. The other option in the poll for this month's theme were characterize a season and the circus. To be honest, I was kinda hoping the theme would be one of those two, because I had ideas for both of them. I've already made one circus clown piece before and I wouldn't mind making it a series. And portrait paintings based on seasons is also on my to-do list. But the chosen theme was World in a Bottle. I had no previous ideas for that. It made me think of a fishbowl or a bottled message or a little greenhouse in a bottle or a ship in a bottle or just a little terrarium, maybe some kind of underwater world. It reminded me of Holly Exley's watercolor illustration of carnivorous plants in a glass jar. First, I thought about taking the underwater world theme a little further and maybe including a mermaid, which I've never drawn or painted for my YouTube channel before. My other ideas were a galaxy inside the bottle, a mountain landscape from photos I've taken in Madeira or Suomenlinna, an Indian woman sitting amongst monstera leaves and other plants, and a desert landscape with camels. This bird idea was inspired by an acrylic painting I saw years ago with lots of fantasy-colored birds sitting on a tree. Unfortunately, I don't remember the artist and can't find the painting anymore. My painting has a mangrove tree growing out of the sand and water in the bottom of the bottle. And it has these colorful paradise birds drinking water, flying or just sitting on the tree. The birds were all modeled after normal small birds and I just changed the colors. But they're also strangely big compared to the tree. They're living inside the bottle, but they can also fly outside when they want to. I didn't really think about that too much. I just wanted some of the birds to be on the outside to make the composition more interesting. I'm happy with how this painting turned out. I didn't paint the background this time because I knew I wanted to cut the bottle out of the background anyway for art prints and other merch, which are available in my Redbubble shop. There'll be a link on the video and also below if you want to check those out. It was easier to make a pattern of this painting for some of the products since it didn't have a background to begin with. I'll add all the World in a Bottle YouTube Artist Collective videos I can find into one playlist, both the official and unofficial ones, and link it below so you can easily find them. Thank you so much for watching, and let's end the video by peeling off the tape.